Well, we're down to the final third of the NPL season. This weekend is the last event of the regular season and leads us into the October NPL playoffs. Sleeves, if you like professional pickleball, it doesn't get much more exciting than this.
No, we've been talking about this since May, and we have done a bunch of preview shows and roundup shows and talking about building up to putting yourself in a position to win a championship. And this is really the last sort of opportunity to make that move and move your chess piece into a good spot.
Yeah, that's right. Now we're going to get into the weeds on this episode with NPL insight and predictions that you're not going to get anywhere else. I mean, I've got the Dean of Senior Pickleball sitting right across from me right now. So we're going to break this thing down a little bit. Event weekend number 5 is split up with 7 teams playing in Indianapolis at the brand new Third Shot Pickleball and 5 teams playing in Pickle Juice in Atlantic City, New Jersey. In Indy, we have Coachella Valley, Columbus Hotshots, Denver Iconics, Indy Drivers, Kansas City Stingers, Oklahoma City Punishers, Seattle Tsunami. And in Princeton, we have Austin McKnight, Boca Surge, Houston Hammers, Naples, JBB United, and Princeton Bruisers. So as a reminder to folks at home, there are 4 team battles played each weekend. So we've already played 16 team battles, and we're heading into the final 4 team battles taking place this weekend. So 20 matches total in the regular season. All 12 teams of the NPL make the playoffs. So this weekend, like Sleeve said, we're battling for playoff seeding. So as we look at the NPL standings, we see that Seattle is at the top at 14-2. So with their huge match differential, they have 124 match wins, only 70 match losses for a differential of 54. They would pretty much have to go 0-4 for the weekend to lose that number 1 playoff seed. I don't think that's going to happen. Sleeves, no. Seattle's been the best team so far this season. I don't expect them to take their foot off the gas this weekend of the last weekend of the regular season.
No, part of it is a homecoming here for Rick Wiskin at the facility. Obviously, played for Indy for a couple years and wants to play well in front of the home crowd. So I would expect that to be raring to go.
I would think so. In my experience, Seattle's going to play as hard as they can all 4 matches. In my experience in sports and life, you never want to lose that positive momentum on purpose. You never want to give anything less than your best effort, even if a match doesn't really count in the standings. You got to go full steam ahead. For when my kids were little, we used to watch a TV show, Survivor. Oh, yeah. One lesson we got from Survivor was anytime an alliance decided to strategically lose a challenge, it always backfired and it never turned out the way they wanted and someone else got kicked off. So that's the way it is in life. You can't go half speed in life. You can't go half speed at Survivor, and you sure as hell can't go half speed in the National Pickleball League.
No, you can't. And my Milwaukee Brewers are in that perfect situation now, having clinched their division, obviously best record in baseball, really have a lot of momentum. And, you get tempted, like, do we rest guys and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think, baseball playoffs are too temperamental. And same with pickleball, probably the most temperamental sport I have ever played as far as momentum shifts. And I think you got to keep the foot on the gas for sure.
I agree. All right, so we got currently in second place is Coachella Valley Scorpions, and in third place is America's team, the Columbus Hotshots, both with 11-5 records. Coachella has a wider margin in match differential. Now, if either of these teams go 2-2 or worse for the weekend, there's a chance they could fall to number 4 seed or lower ranking. Sleeves, Coachella has been one of the most consistent teams all season. Right. Columbus is coming off an undefeated weekend number 4. So I'm going to predict both of these teams will maintain their number 2 or number 3 playoff seeding.
Yeah, I would think so. Although they are in, I would call the tougher draw of the split this particular week. But yeah, I look for both those teams to sort of maintain roughly where they are as well.
Here's where things get interesting. In my opinion, there are 2 playoff spots that are up for grabs this weekend that are very, very, very important. Number 4 seed and number 7 seed. So the top 4 seeds in the NPL playoffs get a first round bye. So that makes that number 4 spot important to avoid playing an extra playoff game. The number 4 playoff seed will play the winner of the number 5 seed versus the last place team, the number 12 seed. So someone might think, well, why does it matter if you're number 4 or number 5? Because most likely number 4 and number 5 are going to play in the next round of the playoffs. That might be the case most seasons, but as you and I know, that last place team will probably be Boca Surge or Denver Iconics. Sleeves, both of those teams will be a tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, because one of them is defending champs, and they have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. Mainly kind of trying to show that this season can be put behind them if they come in and stun somebody. And obviously, you know, the Iconics loaded with talented players, including, you know, Scott Fliegelman. So, boy, you just can't. That's the thing about this league. You just can't overlook anybody because it's so loaded. If you just look at rosters straight up, you're like, you wonder how some of these teams, you know, have such a poor record.
Yeah, I think in Denver's case, yeah, they had some players missing. They caught a few injuries. But like you said, that Denver Pod 1 is as good as anybody, totally stacked. They have NPL stars, Danny Rorfel, Rich Lively, Bill Muno, among others. They've caught some bad breaks, so you definitely don't want to play Denver first round. Same with Boca Surge, defending champ, like you said. Solid lineup, you know, pretty evenly balanced lineup from top to bottom. So I think whoever ends up in that number 12 seed is going to have a major chip on their shoulder, and I think they're going to be a tough team to handle in the playoffs.
Yeah, and remember, Boca, this league's 3 years old. Boca has never finished off the podium.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
They were third. Last year they won it. You know, this team plays well in the playoffs. They just do.
Yeah. And they've got, strong leadership. Yeah. All right, so that number 4 seed is important. We can't emphasize that enough. So 4 teams have a realistic chance to get that number 4 seed. You got Oklahoma City, Princeton, Austin, all have 9-7 records, and Houston Hammers have an 8-8 record. So out of those 4 teams, let's look at weekend number 5 schedule. Oklahoma City is playing in Indianapolis, and you already mentioned it. That's a tough test because Oklahoma City is playing the top 3 teams in the league. Oklahoma City's got Seattle, Coachella, and Columbus. So if OKC has a winning record through all of that and locks up a top 4 playoff seed, that will be an amazing accomplishment. So we both know they've got the players that can do it, but that's a brutal schedule to try to capture that spot.
Yeah, and you know, I like this though because they have, you know, they control their destiny here, and you want to talk about momentum going in. If they pull that off and nail that 4 seed going through that gauntlet, I like them. I like their chances in the playoffs to do very well. So we'll see.
I agree with you completely. So then the other 3 teams are Princeton, Austin, and Houston are playing in the New Jersey event. So they'll all play against each other one time, along with playing against Naples. So in my opinion, whoever comes out on top of those 3 teams this weekend in New Jersey should win the number 4 seed. Houston's interesting this weekend because they're missing one of their stars in Andrew Painter, but they're getting a sub for the weekend in Houston native and pickleball superstar Tommy Ho, who along with Tao Tongvan, they'll make an incredible duo to watch and a tough handle for anybody playing them. Houston's disadvantage is that they're 1 game behind the other 3. They're at 8-8, but they could come up and beat everybody and capture that number 4 spot too.
Yeah, you know, Tommy Ho obviously very used to playing high-level tennis in big-time matches. He's a lefty, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm a lefty. Not fun to play against. Even when I play against a lefty, I'm like, this isn't great. So, and you know, he's not probably expected because he's a sub. You know, great as Tommy Ho, but again, he's a guy that has nothing to lose. Comes in there and just rattles off some wins and kind of the disruptor. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Sort of a grenade thrown in there.
Yeah, Tommy caught my eye the first event last season. He's definitely one of my favorite players to watch. He's playing for his hometown Houston team. You know, he's going to bring it all this weekend. So that'll be fun to watch. All right, Sleeves, with all that, those four teams, do you have a prediction which of those four teams, OKC, Princeton, Austin, or Houston, will wind up with that number 4 playoff seed?
Yeah, so I as much as I like OKC, I just think that's a tough hill to climb. I would be beyond impressed if they did it. And again, like I said, if they do that, I look for them to just keep powering into the playoffs and a team to be a real threat. I just don't think, I think that's too tall an order. I think it really comes down to, Princeton sort of felt a little bit of disrespect, I think, maybe by us, and like we haven't talked about them enough. So, and they've obviously got some heavy hitters. I sort of look for them to kind of do it. There's the interstate rivalry there between Houston and Austin. Maybe they kind of beat each other up. And I actually look for Princeton to slide into that spot.
I see. Okay. Well, that. We'll chalk this back up to another episode of Great Minds Think Alike, because my prediction for the number 4 seeding is that it'll come down to the Houston Hammers versus Princeton Bruisers match Sunday morning in the bright lights of Atlantic City. I'm predicting, along with you, Princeton Bruisers with Sherry Corder, Jose DeRisi, Spencer Mormon.
Good.
So good. Princeton Bruisers are going to break the hometown curse, win the match against Houston, win the New Jersey event, win that giant check, go gamble and party away that check at the casino, but ultimately end up with that number 4 playoff seed.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just have a good vibe about it. So,
all right. So the other critical spot up for grabs this weekend is the number 7 playoff seed. Now, someone you might say, number 7 seed, why does that matter? What's the difference between 7, 8, 9? Well, you'll be playing a tough first round match regardless. That's true. The number 7 seed will play the number 10 seed in the first round, and the number 8 seed will play the number 9 seed in the first round. But the winner of the 7-10 matchup will play the second place team in the next round, where the winner of the 8-9 matchup will take on the number 1 seed, which will most likely be Seattle Tsunami. With how dominant Seattle has been all season, that's potentially a big difference with just one seeding spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've talked about the hometown curse and all that, but Seattle with their domination this year and being at home, boy, you just don't want to have to play them if you don't have to, until you have to play them for it all, if that's the way it ends up.
I agree. If you're the number 2, 3, 6, or 7th seed, you won't have to play that number 1 seed, most likely Seattle, until the championship game, if you win all your matches up until then. You still have to beat some really tough teams along the way, but I think there could be a big difference between playing the number 1 team in their first game of the playoffs or getting a chance to beat them at the final match at home in front of the crowd with a lot of pressure on them. So a lot could happen between now and then. Anyone can beat anyone. But as weird as it sounds, a team might be in a better spot getting that number 7 playoff seed compared to the number 5 playoff seed. But all teams will be battling hard this weekend. It's so close between the teams that the final seedings won't be determined until that last out call is called this weekend. So it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, and again, as we all know who play this game, anything can happen, and usually does.
That's right. And that's also a good reminder that caution you folks to remind you that these picks are for entertainment purposes only. Don't go gambling your 401k on any advice that you hear on Shots Fired podcast.
No, clearly not.
All right. So most likely that number 7 playoff seed will go to one of the teams battling for the number 4 playoff seed. So Oklahoma City, Princeton, Austin, or Houston will most likely fall to that 7th seed. But as we look back in the league standings, we see that 3 teams kind of have an outside shot to get that number 7th position. Indy Drivers, Naples, and Kansas City Stingers are all 6-10 on the season. That's 6-10 record on the season. So of all those teams, I think Naples is kind of interesting because they play 3 of the 4 teams ranked above them. So if Naples can catch fire again, like they did in weekend number 3, go undefeated 4-0, they could come up and grab that coveted number 7 playoff spot. They could move up while knocking everyone down a peg. So, Sleeves, we've seen Naples dominate a weekend before. They've got some of the best players in the league. Do you think Naples has what it takes to go undefeated this very critical weekend?
Yes, just because they're loaded with a bunch of OGs that know how to win. and have won big tournaments. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all, and that team wouldn't surprise me at all to make a push in the playoffs too, because they're like, it's sort of one of those things like you're sitting around and they're probably thinking, like, when does it really count?
That's right.
And
Yeah,
then you got to play them.
So Indy and Kansas City play each other this weekend. So whoever wins that team battle could also have an outside chance to get the number 7 seed if they can put together 2 or 3 other wins. Sleeves, Indy drivers playing at home, brand new facility. So their fans will be excited to see the hometown team put on a great show.
Yeah, just a lot of pressure hosting. You just got a lot of things you got to fulfill and prepare outside of playing the match. So I think it's a tall order for Indy in this case, as it has been for most home teams hosting an event. There's just a lot of variables that you got to deal with that you don't think about otherwise.
All right. Well, that'll be a couple fun things to watch. See who ends up with that number 4 seed and that number 7 seed. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, now it's the time for our popular segment, Ask Sleeves. Sleeves, during our recording break, I see that you went to a concert and meet and greet with Billy Idol, which had to be an awesome show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our Ask Sleeves question this week is, who is the most famous person you've met? Not pickleball famous, but real life famous. Is it Billy Idol, or have you met even a bigger star?
No, I would have to say it was Billy Idol. The woman that directed the Dreambreaker film I was in is married to Larry David, though I never got a chance to meet Larry David. So that would have been easily the most famous person I had ever met. But I had a brief encounter with Billy Idol where it was a meet and greet, and you walk up and you kind of just say, "Hey, how you doing?" And then they take a picture and you roll yourself up. But he's tiny. He is a tiny man. He is like, I'm only like 5'8" and a half, and I think I could post him up in the paint.
Nice. Yeah, Billy Idol's a big star, especially us growing up in the 80s and MTV, early MTV. Yeah,
that's right.
Wow.
And Joe Jett opened, and Joe Jett's even tinier.
Oh, yeah. She's great, too.
Oh, she was phenomenal. I couldn't believe, because you see a lot of these people, and they come out and they're singing in their late 60s and 70s, and they don't sound that great, but these two can still absolutely belt, and I was impressed. They haven't faded at all.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a great show.
And unbelievable. I was front row. I was right on the rail. Wow. I was like, this is unbelievable. So really cool.
Nice. I'll say one of my famous people, probably my most famous people I met. For me, my friend Mark got into various businesses with Hulk Hogan about a decade ago. So I've tagged along and had the opportunity to hang out with the Hulkster a few times over the past decade, including working a trade show with him in Vegas. So I was a big wrestling fan growing up. That they don't get much bigger than that for me. So like you said, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I literally remember watching the Hulkster pick up Andre the Giant, which the most underrated event in sports history, lifting a man of that size.
That's right. WrestleMania 3.
Yes, WrestleMania 3. I was at my buddy's house watching that, and I was like, wow. Use your leg, Hulk.
That's right. All right. So if you got a future Ask Sleeves question, please leave a comment on this video, and we'll ask in a future episode. Sleeves, anything else you want to mention or plug today?
No, we got to start releasing some pickleball cruise dates for 2026, and I'll do a video and tag a bunch of y'all that are out there that are doing clinics and running some teams and stuff like that. So through Royal Caribbean, we're going to do a lot of trips probably out of LA to Cabo and Ensenada. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds great. Cruise, pickleball on the water, all you can eat buffet. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. It's like Vegas on a boat, man.
All right, Sleeves, I think we've said all there is to say this episode, except one final thing. Can you please tell the people at home?
Let's pickle.